Tonight, before you sleep, let me speak to you, not as a headline, not as a billionaire, not as the version of me you see on screens, but as a fellow human who has spent countless nights staring into the dark, wondering if the future I believed in was real or just a stubborn dream refusing to die. This is not about rockets or cars or companies. This is about you. About the quiet moment you are in right now. About the thoughts that surface when the noise finally fades and you are left alone with yourself. I know what it feels like to lie awake and question whether your story still has meaning. I know what it feels like to replay your failures, to zoom in on your mistakes as if they define the whole picture. I know how heavy the silence can become when the world stops demanding things from you and your own heart starts asking the questions you've been avoiding all day. Am I enough? Did I miss my chance? Is it too late to become who I thought I would be? Let me tell you something most people don't say out loud. The future doesn't belong to the loudest voices or the most confident faces. It belongs to the ones who keep going when no one is watching, when there's no applause, when the results are invisible and the doubt is very real. It belongs to people like you, sitting there right now, still searching, still hoping, still breathing even after disappointment tried to convince you to stop. You may think your life looks small from the outside. You may think your progress is slow, that others are ahead, that you somehow fell behind an invisible schedule everyone else seems to follow. But the truth is, the most important transformations don't announce themselves. They happen quietly, internally, long before the world ever notices. The future doesn't start when you succeed. It starts when you refuse to quit. There were nights when I was sure everything I was building would collapse. Nights when the numbers didn't work, when the experts said it was impossible, when the safe choice would have been to walk away and protect what little I had left. I didn't feel brave. I didn't feel confident. I felt afraid. I felt tired. But I also felt something else. A stubborn belief that the story wasn't finished yet. That belief mattered more than comfort. More than approval. More than certainty, and that same belief lives in you, even if it's buried under exhaustion right now. You don't need to have everything figured out tonight. You don't need a perfect plan or a flawless past. The future doesn't demand perfection. It responds to persistence. Every meaningful thing I've ever worked on began as a fragile idea that could have easily been abandoned. The only reason it survived is because someone decided it was worth carrying through uncertainty. Tonight, that someone can be you. I want you to understand this deeply. Your future is not a continuation of your worst moments. It is not chained to your failures or defined by the chapters you wish you could erase. The future is shaped by what you choose to believe when things don't make sense. It's built by the decisions you make in moments like this, when no one is telling you what to do, when giving up would be easy, and continuing feels pointless, but it's not pointless. It never was. The world is changed by people who are misunderstood before they are celebrated. Almost every meaningful breakthrough looks strange at first. People laugh at it, doubt it, dismiss it. They say it's unrealistic, unnecessary, impossible. They don't see what you see. They don't feel what you feel. And that's okay. The future has never been created by consensus. If you're feeling alone in your vision, that doesn't mean you're wrong. It often means you're early. I know you might be tired of hearing motivational words. Tired of speeches that sound good but don't change your reality. So let me be honest with you in a way that doesn't fit on a poster. The path ahead will still be hard. You will still face resistance. You will still have days where progress feels invisible and your effort feels wasted. Believing in your future doesn't magically remove pain. It gives pain a purpose, and purpose changes everything. You are allowed to rest tonight. Rest is not quitting. Rest is maintenance for the mind and soul that still have work to do. But when you wake up, remember this: the future is not waiting for a perfect version of you. It's waiting for a committed one. Someone willing to show up again, even after disappointment. Someone willing to learn, adapt, fail, and try again with a little more clarity than before. Think about how many things had to align for you to be here right now. How many generations, how many choices, how many moments of survival led to this exact version of you? Your existence alone is evidence that improbable things happen all the time. The future you want may feel distant, but so did everything meaningful before it existed. There was a time when reusable rockets sounded absurd. When electric cars were a joke. When the idea of expanding human life beyond Earth felt like science fiction at best. None of those things became real because they were easy. They became real because someone refused to let disbelief have the final word. Your life works the same way. The scale may be different, but the principle is identical. You are not behind. You are becoming. Tonight, before you sleep, I want you to release the idea that you have to prove your worth. You don't earn value through productivity or success. You build impact by choosing to keep moving toward what matters, even when the outcome is uncertain. The future doesn't need you to be fearless. It needs you to be honest enough to admit you're scared and brave enough to continue anyway. If your heart has been heavy, it's not because you're weak. It's because you care. Because you haven't given up on meaning, even when life made it hard to find. That sensitivity is not a flaw. It's a signal. It means you're still connected to something deeper than survival. And that connection is exactly what the future responds to. I want you to imagine waking up one day and realizing that the moment you almost quit was the moment everything quietly began to change. That the nights you spent doubting yourself were actually shaping your resilience. That the pain you thought was pointless became the foundation for wisdom you couldn't have gained any other way. This isn't about blind optimism. It's about informed hope. Hope that understands how hard things can be and chooses to believe anyway. The kind of hope that builds, step by step, decision by decision, day after day. The kind of hope that doesn't need applause to exist. You don't have to change the world tomorrow. You just have to not abandon yourself tonight. Let tomorrow's version of you be grateful that you stayed. That you rested instead of quitting. That you allowed the future to remain possible. Because once something is truly abandoned, it has no chance to evolve. As long as you are still here, still breathing, still willing to imagine something better, your story is unfinished. And unfinished stories are powerful. As you close your eyes, remember this: the future is not judging you for where you are right now. It's quietly preparing to meet you where you decide to go next. It will unfold in ways you can't predict, through paths you don't yet see, using strengths you don't fully recognize. But it will require one thing from you above all else: your willingness to continue. Sleep knowing that your doubts do not cancel your potential. Your setbacks do not erase your purpose. Your slow progress does not mean failure. It means you're human, moving forward in a world that rarely moves in straight lines. Tomorrow, the work continues. But tonight, rest with this truth: your story still matters. Not because of who you are supposed to become, but because of who you already are. Someone who hasn't given up on the future, even when it would have been easier to stop believing. As the night deepens and everything around you grows still, I want you to stay with this thought a little longer. There is something powerful about the hours when the world stops asking you to perform. In these quiet moments, the future listens more closely than you think. It listens to what you whisper to yourself when no one else is there. It listens to whether you speak with kindness or condemnation, hope or surrender. You may not realize it, but the way you talk to yourself tonight is shaping the direction of your tomorrow. If you tell yourself that you're finished, that you're too late, that you've failed beyond repair, your mind will start building a future that matches those words. But if, even softly, even uncertainly, you say, "I'm still here," something shifts. Possibility doesn't need loud confidence. It needs permission. I've learned that progress is rarely dramatic. Most of the time, it looks like endurance. It looks like choosing to care again after disappointment tried to numb you. It looks like continuing to learn when it would be easier to pretend you already know everything or that nothing matters anymore. The future favors learners. It favors people who remain curious even when they're wounded. There were moments when the weight of responsibility felt crushing, when every decision carried consequences that affected thousands of lives. And yet, the same fear you feel on a personal scale is not so different. Fear doesn't measure importance by numbers. It measures importance by attachment. You are afraid because what you're doing, what you're hoping for, matters to you. That's not a weakness. That's a signal that you're aligned with something real. You might be carrying regret tonight. Regret over words you didn't say, chances you didn't take, versions of yourself you abandoned too early. Let me tell you something about regret. It doesn't mean you're broken. It means you've grown enough to see more clearly now. Clarity often comes after pain, not before it. And that clarity can still be used. The future doesn't punish you for learning late. It rewards you for applying what you've learned next. I want you to release the idea that you must feel ready before you move forward. Readiness is a myth. No one ever feels fully prepared for the things that change them. You step forward while still unsure. You build while still doubting. You commit while still afraid. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's the decision that something else matters more. There is a version of you that already knows this. A quieter, deeper version that has survived more than you give yourself credit for. That version didn't disappear just because life became heavy. It's still there, waiting for you to stop treating your exhaustion as a verdict instead of a signal to pause and recalibrate. Tonight is not about pushing harder. It's about remembering why you started caring in the first place. The future you're worried about disappointing is not harsh. It's patient. It understands detours. It understands breakdowns and rebuilding. It understands that sometimes progress looks like stepping back to breathe. What it doesn't understand is abandonment. The moment you decide your life is no longer worth your effort, and you haven't made that decision. Not yet. The fact that you're still listening, still reading, still open to reflection means something inside you is fighting quietly for tomorrow. People often imagine the future as something distant and overwhelming, like a massive leap you have to make all at once. But the future is actually built in very small moments. In what you choose to think before you fall asleep. In whether you allow yourself grace or punishment. In whether you believe that change is still possible for you. Tonight, choose the smallest act of faith. Don't close the door on yourself. You don't need validation from the world to continue. Most of the time, the world catches up later. First comes persistence, then results, then recognition, if recognition ever comes at all. But the most important reward happens earlier. It's the quiet respect you develop for yourself when you know you didn't quit on your own potential. I've failed publicly and privately. I've been wrong. Misunderstood, criticized, doubted. None of that ended my story. What would have ended it is deciding that the discomfort wasn't worth the vision. The same is true for you. Your story doesn't end because things got hard. It ends only if you decide it's no longer worth continuing, and I don't believe you've decided that, so as you lie there, let the pressure ease. You are not on trial tonight. You are not required to solve your entire life before morning. You are allowed to exist without answers. The future doesn't need you to be perfect, it needs you to remain open. Tomorrow will bring its own challenges, but it will also bring new information, new opportunities, new angles you can't see yet from where you're lying. Sleep is not an escape from responsibility. It's a way of trusting that you'll be stronger when you wake up. Remember this when doubt tries to speak louder than hope. Everything meaningful I've ever worked on had moments where quitting felt rational. The only reason those moments didn't win is because I didn't let logic fueled by fear make my final decision. The same choice is available to you, again and again. You don't owe the future brilliance. You owe it honesty. Show up as you are, tired but willing, uncertain but still curious. That is enough to keep the story moving. Close your eyes knowing this. Your life is not a mistake in progress. It's an experiment still unfolding. And some of the most important breakthroughs happen after the longest nights. As sleep draws closer, there's one more truth I want to leave resting gently with you, because it's easy to forget when the lights are off and your thoughts get loud. You are not defined by the season you're in. Seasons change quietly, often without asking for permission, and you don't always notice the shift until you look back and realize you survived something that once felt impossible. There were times when I felt like I was standing still while the world rushed forward. Times when progress seemed invisible, when effort didn't translate into immediate results, when every step forward was followed by 2 moments of doubt. From the outside, people see outcomes. From the inside, all you feel is pressure. You feel the weight of expectations, your own and everyone else's, and the fear that you might not live up to them, but the future doesn't ask you to impress it. It asks you to stay engaged. You don't need to reinvent yourself overnight. You don't need to become fearless by morning. You don't even need to feel hopeful every day. What matters is that you don't numb yourself into indifference. As long as you can still feel disappointment, longing, curiosity, or even frustration, you are still connected to possibility. Indifference is the real danger, not failure. Tonight, I want you to forgive yourself for the pace you've been moving at. Growth isn't linear. Some of the most important developments happen underground, out of sight, where no one is clapping and nothing looks impressive yet. Roots grow in darkness before anything breaks the surface. If you judge yourself only by what's visible, you'll miss the most important work you're doing. You may think the future belongs to people who are certain. It doesn't. It belongs to people who are adaptable. Certainty breaks when reality changes. Adaptability evolves with it. The ability to adjust, to learn, to rethink, to begin again, that's what keeps a story alive. If you've had to start over more times than you'd like to admit, that doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're refusing to settle for something that no longer fits who you're becoming. Starting over is not erasing progress, it's redirecting it. I know there's a part of you that worries about wasted time. About years that feel lost. About choices you can't undo. Let me be clear with you, time is only wasted when you refuse to extract meaning from it. Everything you've lived through has given you information. About yourself. About people. About what matters and what doesn't. That information is not useless, it's fuel. The future doesn't need a younger version of you. It needs the wiser one you are now, tonight. Allow yourself to stop fighting the fact that you're human. You're allowed to be tired. You're allowed to be unsure. You're allowed to want more and still not know how to get there yet. None of that disqualifies you. It qualifies you. Because real progress is built by people who understand struggle, not by those who pretend they never felt it. When you wake up, the world won't suddenly be easy. But you'll wake up with one quiet advantage: you didn't abandon yourself the night before. You didn't let a temporary feeling become a permanent decision. That alone changes the trajectory more than you realize. There will be moments ahead when things begin to align, when small wins appear, when clarity shows up unexpectedly. And there will be moments when everything feels heavy again. Both are part of building something meaningful. The future is not a straight road, it's a series of recalculations. If you can accept that, you'll stop seeing setbacks as signs to stop and start seeing them as signals to adjust. As your breathing slows and the day finally releases its grip on you, remember this: your story matters not because it's perfect, but because it's still unfolding. There are chapters ahead that require the resilience you're developing right now. The patience you're learning. The depth you're gaining from nights like this. Don't rush past this moment. Don't pressure yourself to feel better instantly. Just let yourself exist without judgment for a while. That, too, is progress. The future isn't distant. It's quietly forming around the choices you. As the night finally loosens its hold and your thoughts begin to slow, let this be the last thing you carry with you into sleep. The future you're walking toward is not waiting for a dramatic moment of transformation. It's waiting for consistency. For quiet courage. For the decision, made again and again, to stay present in your own life. You don't need to become someone else to deserve a meaningful future. You don't need to erase who you've been or pretend your struggles didn't shape you. The future doesn't reward denial. It responds to integration, to people who take everything they've been through and use it rather than run from it. There will come a time when you look back on this version of yourself, the one lying here now, tired but still awake inside, and you'll feel respect. Not because everything worked out perfectly, but because you stayed. Because you didn't give your pain the authority to decide your ending. Because you allowed uncertainty to exist without letting it turn into surrender. Most people underestimate how powerful that choice is. You are not late to your life. You are right on time for the lessons you're meant to carry forward. The world moves fast, but meaning moves at a human pace. Depth takes time. Wisdom takes experience. And impact often comes from places that once felt like setbacks. One day, something you're struggling with now will make sense. One day, the confusion will turn into clarity. Not all at once, but enough for you to take the next step with more confidence than before. And when that day comes, it will not be luck that got you there. It will be the nights you chose not to quit on yourself. You may never know how many futures you quietly protected just by continuing, how many conversations, ideas, connections, or moments of courage exist only because you didn't stop here. Life is fragile like that. One decision can change everything, even if it doesn't feel important at the time. Tonight's decision is simple, but it matters. You are allowed to keep going, not with pressure. Not with fear. But with a steady willingness to see what happens next. To learn from what didn't work. To try again with a little more honesty, a little more patience, a little more self-respect. You don't have to carry the weight of the entire future on your shoulders. Just carry yourself into tomorrow. That's enough. Momentum builds from presence, not perfection. As you drift closer to sleep, let go of the need to control how everything will turn out. Control is heavy. Trust is lighter. Trust that effort compounds. Trust that growth is happening even when you can't see it. Trust that the part of you that still hopes, even quietly, knows something your fear doesn't. The future isn't asking you to be extraordinary right now. It's asking you to be sincere. To honor the fact that you're still here. Still open, still capable of becoming more than you were yesterday. Close your eyes knowing this. Your story is not fading. It's gathering depth. And depth is what allows something to last. Sleep with the understanding that tomorrow doesn't need a miracle. It just needs you to wake up and take one honest step forward, whatever that looks like for you. Some days that step will be bold. Other days it will simply be showing up. Both count. When morning comes, the world will still be imperfect. You will still be imperfect. And yet, possibility will still exist, because you do. That is why your story matters. That is why the future is still listening.